for each show, and we're creating applications that are network centric, that's a bridge too far, right, for the average consumer. For a couple reasons, not the least of which is the fact that I really want one entry point to television. I don't want to remember, I don't watch networks, first of all, I watch programs, right? Yeah. And I don't want to have 12 apps. And the problem with these applications is they ask you to give up the web to use them. Yeah. And what's very
Bloomberg has a really nice app, CNN has an app, right. Fox has an app.
But you can't be on Facebook and do that. You can't be on Twitter and do that. You can't do any of that stuff. So they're setting a very high bar, which is, well, this better be pretty good, right, for me to want to use this. And it's a challenge because they're deathly afraid of over-programming the second screen. So they're saying, well, I don't want to put too much because it'll be distracting. And the net result is that it's boring because, ironically, there's not enough.
Yeah. It's interesting that you talked about local because Twitter has taken over the local part, which a lot of people haven't realized. Yeah. When there's a wreck on the freeway, the first place I go now is to search for Twitter.
Me too.
You know, and my mayor in my town's on Twitter. So if I want to follow the city council, it's on Twitter. I don't go to the newspaper anymore, and I don't go to the big screen TV for that kind of news.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wonder how they get back in that game. It's a tough one. Well, they can mix Twitter into the news.
They can, and that's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're trying to solve for two problems. One is they're recognizing that we have to be where our users are. Yeah. Right? And the second thing is they're realizing that this sort of linear news cycle isn't enough. It's not relevant. As Colbert called it, jokingly, it's aged news, right? Yeah. And so they have to figure out how to solve for that problem and crank out clips and clips and clips and stories and push them out at the moment. Because I will go to my local source if I can get the news there, but I'm not going to wait until 10 o'clock to get that.
Now, shake my mouse again.
Yeah, no problem.
Google Plus is a good example of that, right?
Yeah.
The news is happening,
yes.
And look at how fast these new stories are coming in on my screen, right? Yeah. You know, every few seconds a new thing pops up. That's competing now with this big screen.
It absolutely
is. The big screen is where I used to go for that, right?
It is.
But now I don't wait till 6 p.m. anymore, or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m.
Yeah.
I watch it live.
And you no longer have a relationship with your local broadcaster, right? Like that no longer matters. Yeah. You know, you can get the news wherever you get the news, and you'll get it where you can get it the quickest.
Yeah. And increasingly that's Facebook or Google Plus. Mm-hmm. So where do you fit into this thing then? What are you going to do with this new iPad?
Sure. So
gadget that we're getting.
Yeah. So we're taking, I think, a unique approach to it. So we've been around actually for 2.5 years, fairly quietly, kind of in and out and testing and learning. We're trying to solve for one problem only, which is how do you make television more engaging in the age of the internet, right? In the age of all of these screens here. How do you do that? And what we've learned is that a fully automated approach, and this is where we started, right? We looked at analyzing closed caption and how do you create this, how do you boil the ocean and capture all of television? You can't do that. You can't do that and create a compelling experience. Yeah. And so we program today over 1,000 hours of content. And by program, I mean we use automated tools that we've built. We use content management systems that we've built that are now being used by the X Factor, for example. And we have a team of people that are actually watching television and programming this content in real time, oftentimes in complete real time because we don't have access to these shows ahead of time.
Yeah. Now, do you just do it for certain shows or do you do it 24 hours a day if it was on this app?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do today is we've started with trying to own a block of mind share around primetime television, right? So we're after the 20% of television that garners 80% of viewership. That's where we're starting. What we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is rolling out select shows that we know maybe a more interesting audience or early adopters might be watching. So Colbert and Daily Show and things like sort of select cable networks. So we're expanding that library as quickly as we possibly can.
And so if I'm watching the X Factor, what do I get on TV Plus then?
Yeah, absolutely.
And first of all, is it a free app?
It's a completely free application. We developed 2.5 years ago audio fingerprinting technology so that we can sync the device to the television. Yeah. We can do that in real time for live programming that's never aired before. And we identify not just what you're watching, but also your exact position in that content to within 1 second. And for us, that's actually really critical to our business model because...
No, it's interesting because I've seen, was it you, Know Now?
Into Now.
Into Now, yeah. They had audio fingerprinting for TV as well.
Absolutely.
So you're doing the same thing. You just turn on your iPad, and it knows that you're watching X Factor.
That's right.
And it knows where you're watching it, where you started watching it. Because not everybody watches right from the beginning. They turn it on 5 minutes into the show or whatever.
So you asked about where the industry is, and the industry is largely in two camps. It is in what we call transactional, which is Into Now, which is any of the popular check-in services. They're transactional behaviors. So, and if I'm a marketer, that's great, right? If you want to share that you're watching my show, whether you are or not, I don't really care. That's a good thing for me. The problem is that the real business here, the big business, is in the engagement. It's not like, how can I capture, 20, 30, 40 minutes a month, an hour a month of engagement. It's, how do I capture 20 or 30% of the 140 hours that people watch? Yeah. That's where the big business is. And we would argue that the next great internet company is going to emerge from this space. You look at the economics of it, you look at the role of television in our lives, you look at how much time we spend doing it, and the fact that today nobody owns that mindshare. And that's why you see so much noise in this space and so much money flowing in. Is, can you imagine a better place to build a business and to build mindshare than around, oh, this is what I do when I watch TV. Oh, TV Plus is for TV, right? That's huge.
And is it going to be a big boy like the Google, the Apple, or the Facebook? Or is it going to be somebody, a startup that we've never heard of?
It's going to be a startup you've never heard of.
And why is that?
It's for a very simple reason. That the content owners are scared to death of Google. Yeah. And Google TV was indicative of that. They went out to all of the content owners and said, let's do deals, come on, let's play, we're going to make this amazing. And they said, look, we saw what you did to the newspaper industry. We're not going to let you take over our advertising business. Right? We're under enough threats as it is. We're on to you, Google. And so it's indicative of the fact that the big companies are going to have a lot of trouble building a big business here. Now, they'll have a role, right? Google TV will have a percentage of the market, and now Apple TV will do the same.
Apple has $81 billion in the bank. Why couldn't they just buy companies and say, shut up?
If it were that simple, right? Like, if it were only that simple, right? We'd probably have one company on this planet. So it's not that easy as we know.
And it isn't that simple. The Siri team is having trouble signing deals even for hooking into Siri, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's scared of
Absolutely.
And they see the big guy and they say, oh, you guys have $81 billion, pay up.
That's exactly right. You become a big target and you're the 800-pound gorilla with the $80 billion gorilla.
Cool. So can you show me what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
So let's say I'm watching X Factor and I turn on your app. What happens?
So if you're watching X Factor and you turn on the app, we're going to identify it. So in this case, we're watching the X Factor. And what we do is something that we believe is very important, which is TV Plus is in essence a web browser. And it's a web browser that's smart and it knows what you're watching. And the reason for that is, look, I want